Last week I made a video on public workshops in Fallout 76. My overall sentiment of the video was that they were a bit disappointing. I felt they didn't provide enough resources to justify taking them unless you were planning on playing for about half a day in one server. In the comments of that video I got a fair few different opinions. By a slight majority, most players who left a comment agreed with me. However, there were quite a few people who felt I was underselling public workshops, mostly due to me neglecting 2 points. The first is that, once you've captured a public workshop, it counts as a free fast travel point. This is something I did know about. I actually captured footage of fast travelling to my workshop for the previous video, and then entirely forgot to include that section, so that is on me. Although this is a pretty big benefit if you want to quickly move around the map, I feel I should point out it's not exactly free fast travel, as you do still have to spend caps to claim the workshop. So taking a workshop purely for that purpose isn't guaranteed to save you money. That said, it's still a definite bonus point in workshop's favour. The second point I neglected was one I had partially forgotten and didn't know the full info about. When you take over an unclaimed workshop, it will have some resources already in its storage. This means you can craft some resource extractors and generators to power them without immediately digging into your own supply. This was my biggest problem with workshops, and this fact does make them a lot better. This means they actually can yield some passive resource yield, even without spending the entire day in the game. Go out, do a quest or two, maybe an event, and pop back semi-regularly to gain some resources. Problem is, a few of my complaints from a previous video still remain. A lot of extractors only give you ore, which you then have to break down with acid, making you expend more resources for what is a fairly low overall yield. Due to this fact, a lot of workshops aren't all that valuable, as they might only yield ore. There are a few workshops I can highly recommend you take over though, and that's what the focus of this video is going to be about. And yes, I'm only now getting into which workshops I consider to be the best, so apologies. I had such a long intro segment, but I feel it's important to clarify some things. Enough of that for now, let's move on to my top 3 workshops, and I'll even throw in a bit of an honourable mention at the end too. The first workshop I want to talk about is Charleston Landfill. This is a workshop you'll probably run across or run past fairly early on. It's a pretty scruffy looking area, but it has 2 key points which make it among the best workshop on the map. First will be fairly obvious when you arrive, as there should already be an industrial water purifier sitting inside the build space. Connect enough power to this and you've got a rapid source of purified water to stock up on. This can be quite a big deal, as learning to create an industrial water purifier might take some time, so early on this can be a real boon. The second big point in its favour is that it's home to not 1, not 2, but 3 junk nodes, over which you can place extractors. I said in my previous video that junk extractors were the best of them all, and this I most certainly stand by. They give you a good variety of junk, you can loot the base of them even with an extractor on top, and they yield some of the rarer components, such as fibre optics. On top of all this, the workshop seems fairly easy to defend. You've got wide open sightlines, and the enemies that show up don't seem to be high level. The workshop also houses nodes for aluminium, copper and steel. Aluminium and copper will be gathered as ore, so I'm not going to recommend them unless you desperately need them, especially aluminium, as you can get that from junk extractors. The steel extractor does give you pure steel scrap, so if you're desperate for steel you might consider it, but I just recommend scrapping down a few picked up guns instead. Gets you steel a lot faster than an extractor will. On to the next workshop I'd recommend taking, Mount Blair. This workshop is a truly unique one, in fact being a large-scale mining machine. By finding, taking, repairing and defending this machine, you'll be rewarded with a large amount of ore and scrap. This somewhat goes against what I've said previously. Ore kind of sucks, and this particular workshop is based around ore, meaning you'll need to expend a lot of acid to get resources from it. I would, however, call this place an exception to the rule. You still get some base scrap that's easy to deal with, and the sheer number of resources you get ensures an easy profit on them if you stick around for the full time the machine is running. More than anything though, I'd recommend taking this workshop at least once, just for the experience. This massive machine showed up in the official trailer for 76, and the fact we can not only power it up, but explore all of it and see it working is pretty damn cool. It fits perfectly with West Virginia, and speaks for the region it's located in more than anything else. I'd highly recommend everyone take this workshop at least once, purely for the experience. However, it's also useful as a workshop for people who don't want to stay on several hours in a single play session. The excavator runs for half an hour, meaning that even if you're only playing for a single hour, you've got plenty of time to head to the location, get it up and running, and stick around for the full rewards. The final workshop, and one that I consider to probably be the best in the game, is the converted munitions factory. Located in the northeast of the map, this workshop is home to an ammo press. If you were one of those people who rush through the Pit DLC in Fallout 3 to get to the ammo press, then there's chances you're going to want to acquire the one in this game too. After clearing the workshop of enemies and claiming it for yourself, all you need to do is power up the machine and select which ammo type you want it to make, and it does its thing. Nice, easy, and straightforward. If you struggle with ammo, it's well worth hitting up the workshop and trying to hold it for a day or an evening, as doing so can rapidly fix your ammo issues. I personally eat through 10mm pretty fast, as I share it with a friend and have also been using the Perfect Storm these past couple of days. Holding the ammo factory for a couple of hours topped up my ammo nicely, making sure I could continue to adventure throughout West Virginia without having to worry so much about running out of bullets. Unless you're playing 100% pure melee, this is a huge bonus, and it's pretty much the only workshop on the map I regularly see people taking over. In addition to producing ammo, the workshop also contains areas for aluminum, lead, oil, silver, and junk extractors. The junk extractor is the only one I normally bother with, but the lead extractor might seem inviting for someone determined on crafting as much ammo as humanly possible. That's it for what I consider to be the best workshops in the game. I did say I had some honourable mentions though, and they're the workshops where you can power up fusion core extractors. The power and energy plants on the map come with a workshop next to them. Claim it, and provide 100 power to the fusion core generator, and it starts working on crafting fusion cores for you. The power for this can be tricky, however there are power boxes nearby that can help with this if you repair the power plants themselves. The fusion core generators produce a fusion core every hour, which isn't astronomically fast, but if you're planning on playing for several hours in a single server and need them badly, then it's worth owning one of these. When I went to capture footage of this machine working, it actually took me close to an hour and a half for me to get a fusion core. My current theory as to why this occurred was that the generator I had powering the machine got destroyed in the middle of a defend event. I repaired it a few minutes after it broke, but I wouldn't be surprised if the timer reset itself upon being powered back up, as it would then roughly be an hour afterwards I actually saw a fusion core appear. These workshops are only honorary mentions, as I'm personally not all that sold on them, but I feel it's worth talking about them as there might be someone out there who's looking to stock up on fusion cores at a fast pace. Before I fully end this video, I want to go over a few different things about workshops in general. As a quick note, I want to make sure everyone is using the contractor perk when building everything at workshops. You may think that I'm stating the obvious here, but I forgot to equip it every single time today, so more than anything I'm saying it here in the hopes it even goes through my Sphic skull. With that pointer out of the way, I'd like to say that I still mostly agree with my overall point about workshops in my previous video. They're not as bad as I thought they were, but I'd still like them to be incentivized to more players. Those who sit around for 10 or 12 hour play sessions certainly get their worth from them, but the people who might only be able to get on for an hour or so in the evening likely won't even consider taking them. The nerf we had to them a while back feels like it wasn't needed. Getting a lot of junk is great and all, but we're still sat on a 600 stash limit, so it's not like we can hoard infinite amounts of junk anyway. We all have points where we need to scavenge for resources, and even now I don't think workshops are going to be all that high on my list. I will take them a little more often, and I might even host a few workshop taking events over on my Discord at some point, as a fan event. But there's one big problem that can really still interfere with workshops that I've yet to address. Yeah, that. As long as server disconnects still happen on a semi-regular basis, taking workshops won't be something I focus on. The last thing I want is to spend the caps taking a workshop, build it all up, and then have the server crash a few minutes later. Fingers crossed updates over this month and the following will make the game more stable, and then we can all enjoy things without so much disruption. I can't actually think of a natural way to end this video, so I guess I'll just let you know that this is the outro section. I want to offer thanks to all of you watching, and especially those of you tuning into every video of mine. There's been a noticeable increase in viewers showing up to all of my content, which has been very reassuring to see. A big thank you as well to my patrons. You'll see them on the end card of this video, and they literally keep me fed, so I can't even begin to thank them enough. If you want to help out the channel, then you could also become a patron, however this is quite a big ask. As something smaller, I'd ask if you leave a like on this video and consider mentioning my channel to a friend who also plays 76. Word of mouth still remains one of the best ways for content creators to grow, and I hugely appreciate it whenever someone tells their friends about my channel. That's far too much rambling now though, outro and intro both were a bit excessive I think. As always, thanks for watching. Sarge out.